episode 25. This is the 2-year anniversary of the Minty Boys.
Yep. It's technically season 3.
Yes.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. But I suppose we'll get into that later on in the episode. Gosh, this has been probably the weirdest episode we're gonna have to record. Also, like, I'm surprised how quickly we got everything together to get this episode ready. So, you know.
Yeah.
I thought last episode was like a fairly quick, getting our stuff together, but this was quite quick too, like way quicker.
Right. Because we didn't even have a date set. It's still not set on the calendar that we're recording today.
No.
But we were just like, well, anniversary is like coming up. Don't have a lot of days.
Yeah.
Left.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, there's that weird intake and then a glug.
Close enough.
Oh, I guess an interesting thing of as like we talked about last episode about Fall Guys and game trends. Just interesting to note how Fall Guys has kind of been overshadowed by Among Us.
Yeah.
And that's now the game.
It was being hyped like it was going to be the big game of the season, and then just got tossed to the side for Among Us.
This year has been surprisingly good for gaming, which I guess after last year is quite a relief.
Well, yeah. A lot of people sitting at home this year.
Yeah.
Which the PlayStation 5 supply is pretty low. It seems like it's sold out like everywhere, but on that note, I guess.
Yeah. But so yeah, I just thought it was an interesting note, because even like it's coming out of the small like internet like when I get like Fortnite, when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, this is on the internet bubble. But like when a game is able to be like, you hear people in the playground talking about it, you're like, oh wow, this is a big thing.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I remember, because that was kind of like a weird thing about Pokemon Go back in the day when that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this could be quite a niche thing, but it'll be interesting. And
then it was just like random like middle-aged people walking around playing it that like don't play video games, but for some reason they're doing this, and it's like, oh, most
people, like a lot of people's experience of Pokemon now is Pokemon Go.
Yeah,
it's just weird, like the form it's taken in people's mind. Like I think I was talking to someone about video games, like, oh, have you played Pokemon? I was like, oh yeah, I've played Pokemon Go. I was like, like, yeah.
But it's also like, yeah, it's like what you were saying of just being in the
public eye.
Yeah, like the public consciousness, more so than just like people on the internet or just people who play video games. It's like,
yeah,
it was kind of like how Fortnite showed up in that Avengers movie, and it was just like weird. I mean,
yeah, it's
don't know why it's in here, but it's like, it's also, oh, now a lot of people who don't play video games still at least got some exposure.
Yes, it's interesting as well with the whole like Halo and Call of Duty have been the big, like the big public games, and it's interesting how they've been transitioning from shooters to more less like, oh, obviously Halo isn't, it's it's not like a realistic shooter, but it's like a real, like realistic based.
Yeah, it's
like
not,
the graphics are realistic, but it's not like
yeah, it's not as like, it's like,
though to be fair,
realism as like Call of Duty, but it is,
to be fair, Call of Duty, and recently it hasn't, but it was like straying from realism.
Yeah, I was gonna point that out as well, like, because it's kind of following the trend of
But,
like getting away from grittier shooters and
yes, and Fortnite's a relatively light-hearted shooter.
yeah.
And obviously
That's,
Fall Guys is very light-hearted.
I mean, my favorite shooter is Time Splitters, which was, I feel like, the original like cartoony shooter that's not taking itself too seriously.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, it's interesting seeing like the trend of popular games, and just so like Among Us is I think it's a more nerdy game, I suppose, because it's it's a lot more of an in-depth strategy and talky game instead of a bang bang shooty game.
Right.
Which is why I've just found it particularly interesting why it's become such a something that's in the public consciousness. But
I mean, like hidden role games of various sorts have gotten like really more and more popular.
Yeah.
Deceit got kind of popular for a bit there, and I feel like, and also like all the Gmod like murder and stuff. It's
Trouble in Terrorist Town, that was big for a while.
right.
But yeah, it's interesting been watching the quarantine game trends and how they've shifted and stuff over time. But it'll be interesting to see if, I guess, the big ones are the Christmas games, those that everyone buys for Christmas and like plays up until the spring, and then the spring games come out, and then the cycle goes on. But
before we get too far ahead of ourselves and jump straight to the game section,
sure.
Should we talk about things that aren't games?
Sure, yeah. I just thought that was a interesting follow-up. So, yes, general talk. Where to start? So yes, I've been, as I've mentioned in the past 2 episodes, I've gone back to school now. And as some may know, I'm in year 11, which is the final year of, or not like it's like the final year of secondary school or high school or whatever, before you then go into sixth form or college. So of course we have our big GCSEs.
That's a little different to how things are in America, because it's
college is university.
Well, also year 12 is part of high school.
Yeah,
and then at that point you just kind of.
For many schools, it's basic because of my school only has primary and secondary, whereas other schools have primary, middle, secondary, or they have primary, middle, secondary, sixth form.
Right.
So some schools it just feels like it just continues on, but you don't wear uniform, I guess. But of course, there's still uncertainty with what's going to happen with our GCSEs this year. So in 8 weeks, yes, as of the episode coming out and as of recording, I'll have to sit so they do the mock exams, which are just to show teachers what your grades are looking like before you do your GCSEs, because after your mocks we have a few months to revise and go over things, and the teachers can then learn where we are. And also it helps college, sixth forms pick, because they can see the grade you got in your GCSEs, and then they also see the grade you got in your mocks, so they can actually see your improvement too. But the issue is that, well, maybe the issue, but of course, a couple years ago, or like even a year ago, I was expecting the mocks not to be as, like, of course, obviously I would prepare for them because they're exams, but I was thinking of them, I'm probably going to start revising like a month or so before. But because of all the uncertainty, these are probably going to be as good as my final exams, because there's a chance they cancel them again if looking at the way COVID's going. So it's been interesting how everyone's like, oh yeah, we should be preparing for these as if we were preparing for our GCSEs. So that's been
pressure.
been fun. Yeah, it's like, so yeah, I've started getting ready and revising for those, which is annoying at the same time, because we're still, the way this the school works is that the learning system works is by the time we get to the mocks we would have finished all the courses. So not only am I going to have to be revising for these as if they were the final exam, I'm still going to be learning things as I go. So that's going to be, it's going to be interesting. But I think I've set up a timetable where I'm revising subjects on the days I'm not doing homework for those subjects. So I can still learn new things and revise old things at the same time and have it not overlap at all.
Right.
So yeah, that's been fun to be dealing with. But yeah,
Speaking of
I feel like it's
COVID, I see you have something about the apps on here, or
so yeah. In the United Kingdom, they tried to set up an app that tracks people, kind of
contact tracing.
Yeah, and people thought that was a bit too intrusive, so no one really bothered. But they've come out with a new app, which I watched a video explaining it by Matt Gray. I could put that into show notes. It's quite interesting, where it doesn't use your location or details or address, but every like 10 to 20 minutes it assigns you a new code.
Right.
And it's Apple and Google have come together to make a new system that uses low-powered Bluetooth to compare to store the codes in everyone else's phones.
Yes.
So if you say, if you confirm you've had COVID and like you're like okay with sharing that information, because they have to get your permission because of stuff.
Yeah,
then...
I remember when they were first coming out with this. It's like they were strongly recommending that like countries use their system instead of going up with their own system that just like basically tracks everyone's location and identity.
And which people don't like soon.
Yeah, some countries did take them up on it right away, and I think the UK might have been like, no, we're going to do it our way, and then have now backpedaled a little.
Yeah, they're like, okay, fine, we'll do it.
It's like, people don't like surveillance state. Yeah. How are we supposed to know?
Yes. Though, for people who have like found it weird, it's like not spyware. And also there's loads of other ways the government can track you if they really want to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you having an app on your phone isn't stopping them. Like, they can, because you pay your mobile bill, they can track that back to you, and they can then feasibly find out where you are. Or I know people who were weird because they didn't want the government knowing their address, but it's like, well, they already know your address.
Yeah, do you not have to put that on your ID? Like,
yeah, like it's like there's the postal service knows your address. It's like it's not the Royal Mail, should I say, knows your address.
Yes, the U.S. Postal Service as well, probably.
Yeah, and the band.
And the band.
Service yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's just strange. I think I might get it just for the sake of it. 'Cause it's generally just a good idea to have, especially since I've been on public transport a lot, and just from going to school and stuff like that. And of course, it has some nice features. Like, of course, you can turn it off if you're leaving your phone somewhere. Because obviously you wouldn't have been in contact with that person for that period of time if your phone was picking it up whilst you were doing something else. So yeah, it's just interesting, just the way people have responded to it, and people are still wary of the new system, even though it's like, no, this doesn't need,
it's designed with your privacy, as the priority there.
So people are getting annoyed because it didn't work with older phones, but it's because it needs, I think it's fourth gen Bluetooth, low power, to quietly share the codes and receive codes without. So of course that it won't work on older phones, which people were complaining about. But it's like, I guess, but I don't know.
It's a really cool system. I would get it if I could, but I looked it up, and North Carolina does not have an app for contact tracing, at least as of when I looked it up, which was a few days ago, so maybe I should check again. But
Sure. Yeah.
there's only a few states that actually have one right now. So
Yeah.
and of course,
And of course,
it's by state and not
yeah, that
national.
stuff like that is handled by the state and not the
Yeah.
federal government, which I guess makes sense. So yeah.
But it feels a little bit like it's too late.
Yeah, it would have been nice if something like this was around
Like in March,
a few months. Yeah.
Even in like June, if this was really popular when things were starting to open up again and people were going out more, it's like that would have been huge. But
yeah, it's still annoying, even though I've explained it to a couple people now, and they've still been like, "No, I'm not gonna get it." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I don't know. I don't blame them personally, because of course I do trust the app, and I'm like, I understand. Like, I think it still needs your location, but that's just because it gives you notifications of what areas are at risk, and that's all it basically needs your location for. But it's not like storing it off somewhere. It's just using it locally to find out which like areas you are in, so you can avoid.
I mean, honestly,
high risk places.
What app doesn't ask for your location these days? Like, there's so many people will give their location to like Snapchat so they can get the local filters or whatever. But
or like the people who you can see the little snap emoji people. And Bitmojis, that's what they're called, on the map. Or Instagram uses it. YouTube uses it, actually, which is interesting. The algorithm uses your location to suggest relevant videos to you.
Weird.
Facebook, Twitter.
Yeah,
some mobile
like
games
trying
use
to tag
it too.
your location on photos and stuff, and it's like,
yeah.
And obviously, if you're using like a GPS on your phone, it's like,
yeah,
it has to have access to your location. So it's a little unavoidable, and it's weird how hesitant some people are to.
And it's not spyware because it will make it clearer if it does have access to your camera and microphone. Which again, I don't think that would. I don't. I don't think the British government is currently in a place where they can dump lots of funding mysteriously into a random thing, like for espionage or surveillance.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just interesting seeing how people have reacted to it, and I'm like, okay. But yeah, I'll definitely get it. I'm just a bit worried because it does increase my chances that I'll have to self-isolate, which at the moment I can't. I don't really want to have to. Obviously that would suck. So. But luckily my school's been able to, they're still using the online system. So if you're off for 2 weeks for supposedly COVID, you can still do your work daily from home. So yeah, it's been interesting seeing how everything's playing out. And yeah, it would have been great to have something like this a few months ago. And maybe, I don't know, I guess we'll see. I think they're planning on implementing more local lockdowns, which should be. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because that's what they've been doing in Scotland, with Glasgow going into like a soft lockdown. I think they said it was, because you could still go out in public places, but you just weren't allowed to have people in your home. And this time, if there is a second lockdown, I think I'm more prepared for it mentally, and yeah. I think. I know not to expect now, and I think, I know what to do, I guess. So yeah.
Right. I do wonder, like, how much of this is preparing us for next time there's a big pandemic like this. Like, I feel like we'll have, like, the contact tracing apps fully, like, ready from the start, and things like that.
Yeah. I know. I was thinking. I wonder if, like, in the future, because this is, not a small thing. That's like, obviously, there's quite an important, or a very defining factor of the 2000s. Um, so I just wondering, like, it's just interesting knowing how the history works, like how the history lessons work, and like I wonder if like in 40 years or so there'll be like you have to write an essay on what went wrong in the
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
the
I don't even think
pandemic
it'll
of the
take that long.
2020s. Yeah, definitely not. I think
I feel like there's a lot of school papers that are going to be written on this in the next even 10 years, you know?
yeah. Of course, I guess there's going to be a lot of academic papers written. Like, well, there are lots of academic papers being written currently.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that stuff always, but also just like
high schoolers and
yeah.
But yeah, it's
not to sound like too much like a conspiracy theorist or too pessimistic about the state of the world, but I would not be surprised. People compare this to Spanish flu, and it's like, oh, it's, you know, this sort of thing only happens once every 100 years or so, but it's like, I would not be surprised if there was another large pandemic on this scale within our lifetimes.
Yeah.
Maybe even not that many years from now, you know?
It's pretty depressing, but the way the climate is looking at the moment, and just loads of other factors to do with factory farming and globalization, they reckon that scientists and epidemiologists and whatever the people who talk, they reckon that something like this is only gonna happen sooner and sooner as we kind of tip off into the, or we're already in the danger zone, but as we get in the extra special spicy death danger zone of climate change.
Sure. And not even like that's assuming unintentional ones as well, like the possibility of like biological warfare.
Yes,
I think would only make the rate of this happening go up. Like,
yeah,
it's pretty well established that this was not on purpose, but there's no reason it couldn't have been. Facebook you know, and
yes,
I think it's definitely a wake up call to the world that we need to be more prepared about this sort of thing.
Yeah, and of course last year there was all of those climate strikes as well, and yeah, it's a bit, it's kind of scary that it's gonna have to get so much worse before it's gonna get better. Like, as in, I don't think, again, this does sound rather cynical of people, but I think even this is gonna be not enough to show people that we need to take action in climate change.
Most people aren't going to see it as related.
Yeah. And even still, you know, it's not like, well, of course, I think carbon emissions have been like the lowest they've been in like 30 years, but it's still not, Greenland is still melting. The ocean levels are still rising. It's not like it's changed. The issue is that there's probably going to be a recession after this as well. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun. That, you know,
we should dive into that. I mean, after all, we said that season 3 was going to be
the socio-economic,
economic podcast,
geopolitical podcast. Yeah. I've been reading lots of, I don't know, Karl Marx. Man, I can't think of any other.
Speaking of things melting, I was
yes.
I was reading something about one of the options that people look into for like combating climate change is essentially like terraforming options.
Oh.
And one possibility is injecting a bunch of sulfur into the atmosphere to make clouds to block out the sun, which would reduce the heat, but could potentially cause a slew of other problems.
Yeah, and also wouldn't that also add to the greenhouse gas effect, where heat gets trapped in? I think that's the main issue, isn't it?
Yeah, that is potential.
Where the heat from the sun just gets trapped in the atmosphere anyway. But,
right. I don't know the exact science behind it, and if it's maybe higher up in the atmosphere or something to avoid that, but
yeah,
I do know this is a one of many options that there's been research on, and it would temporarily sort of reverse a lot of the problems.
Yeah, but because of how weird our planet is, we don't know. Well, just
we can't really be sure of
objects.
all of the downsides that would eventually happen. But the most concerning thing I find with this is that option is estimated to cost single-digit billions of dollars to put into place.
Huh.
I think it was like 2 to 8 billion, which is a lot of money. But it's
on the scale of the world economy, that's not that bad.
Yeah.
If you think about how.
But it's not. It's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, that's the thing though.
But if you're an island nation, and rising sea levels equals your country no longer existing.
Yeah.
And you have, a country's level of money to play with, spending like $4 billion to prevent your islands from going underwater seems like a good idea, regardless of the side effects. So that's concerning.
Yes, but yeah,
it's also the sort of project that like someone like Jeff Bezos could do just on a whim,
Yeah, well, yeah, Elon Musk is like, you know what? I haven't done something insane for a while.
It's just inject a bunch of sulfur into the atmosphere, see how it goes. It's like,
it's ridiculous how quickly his Elon Musk is the weird sign of just how quickly his net worth is like, isn't it like quadruple?
Yeah, because the Tesla stock quadrupled. So
that's
he's now worth more than Warren Buffett.
Yeah, he's like aspired to definitely not as much as Bezos or but like around the ranks of Buffett and Gates, which is just like that wow.
Yeah,
but well, at least Gates is giving it away and Elon Musk is using it to further science. But yes, it's interesting because there's all these countries. I think it was probably Norway. One of the Scandinavian / Nordic countries was like, oh, we're gonna get rid of all like petrol / diesel cars by 2025. And then the UK was like, oh yeah, we'll get rid of all of our petrol diesel cars by 2040. And isn't like everyone say like there's this whole deadline of it being 2050. But instead of countries taking immediate action and like allowing the 30 years left now of
right, they're
like,
and that's one of those things where they're like,
like
eventually,
okay, we have time. Like when you have a very like they're doing what school children do, or like I do sometimes. They're like, oh, I have like 2 weeks to do this assignment. I may as well leave it until 3 days before.
Yeah. I don't even think the U.S. has made a statement like that. I don't think they would. They love their
Oh yeah,
trucks too much.
yeah. I think and then some kind of conspiracy that renewable energy is actually sucking up our brains, and that you should inhale diesel to
But
kill
the
yeah.
pandemic, I mean, also the fires in California and
Yes,
Oregon
there's
and wherever, like,
the West Coast.
they make you think about how much things in one part of the world can affect everyone in a negative way.
Yes.
Um, not
Also
to turn this into just a climate change podcast, but it's like,
yeah, that's kind of what's just been happening. We were talking about how
it's
great
sort
and
of
fun climate change is.
it's hard to ignore something like that when there's a fire in California and it's reducing the air quality of like people on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Kind of makes you think.
Yeah. Or, the rainforests are slowly dying.
Yeah.
Certification is becoming more rampant in like Africa and Australia. But yeah.
It also makes me wonder, like, if there was a significant drop in air quality in, like, globally, like on the level of Corona, but just of air quality.
Yeah.
I don't know how prepared the world would be for something like that. Like we had a hard time producing enough masks initially for and ventilators and things. I can't imagine like trying to get like air filtration systems out to like
yeah.
would
Just
all the poor people just be asphyxiating like.
That's why I think like not that I think, but I feel like it would be an interesting idea that like I'm not saying this aligns perfectly with my ideology, but it's like surely wouldn't it be easier just if we all go communist for like 2 years to sort this out, and then we can just be like okay. So that way we won't have an economic recession because money won't exist for a while.
Yeah.
And then just like then we won't
not
have
to
any
go
weird...
entirely political here, but
right. But I don't know, it just feels like
Andrew Yang in the U.S. who ran in the Democratic primary was promoting a UBI on his campaign, and it's like just after the primaries were over and stuff, all this started happening, and or as they were ending, I guess, is when this all started happening, and even the U.S. at least sent one just relief check to people of just money with no strings attached to it, you know?
Yes. Wasn't it signed Trump or something? I remember vaguely something like that.
I believe so. I don't know. I got a direct deposit, so I didn't get a physical check.
You didn't get a check because you I don't think I've seen a checkbook in like 5 years.
But I feel like a lot of people look back on his campaign and like thought like, oh, you know what? Maybe this guy wasn't crazy.
Yes. But yes, I think poop would hit the fan if we all just suddenly decided to instate temporary communism. Just to get everything together. But
I mean, yeah, it depends on what you mean by communism, like full on.
Well, yeah, not like but I feel like the freedom of, well, to be fair, lots of medical research companies have pulled together, and like, sure, we're normally business competitors, but like we understand that this is more important than business. So they've like they're sharing, they're not patenting anything, and they're openly sharing their vaccine research and making sure it goes up. Although
yeah, it would be kind of
this whole thing with who should get the vaccine first and stuff like that, which is all a bit messy. But
I feel like there would be potential criminal charges if some company had like a working vaccine and they like didn't share it with people. I think even in the US, like, as much as we love, good old capitalism.
Say, like, didn't oil companies do something similar in the 70s where they found out about climate change, but just like shh, don't tell anyone.
Yeah, that's a little
They've
different
just
though
kinda
because it
kept
doesn't.
hush.
It's not as a direct line of like, oh, this person died because you didn't share your information.
Yeah.
Though there was some of that with lead poisoning and stuff.
Yes, and cigarettes.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah.
Or
Companies are great.
yeah. Yay, capitalism. Again, suddenly become a socio-economic, geopolitical podcast.
Yeah. Well, speaking of companies with lots of money, Apple released iOS 14, and I haven't fully reworked my phone and figured out what the best way to
configuration is. Yeah.
Set it up. Yeah, but a big thing that I think a lot of people are excited about is they're allowing widgets on the home screen.
Oh, what? Wow, yeah, widgets are great. I've got a... yeah.
And something I've personally wanted for a long time is they finally made a setting, and this is probably a preemptive strike on all the antitrust stuff that is on the horizon, but they finally made an option to set a default browser that isn't Safari. So now if I click a link on Discord or somewhere and want to like open it up, it can open in Firefox.
Yeah.
Rather than just opening in Safari, which is very nice because
I can imagine.
Mobile Safari gets stuck on a lot of websites when it's like you zoom in and then it won't let you zoom back out, and kind of garbage.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, it's just like an obvious setting that should have been in there from the beginning, but because it's iOS is so like locked down, they can get away with things, you know?
Yes, because it's not more restrictive, but more, I suppose so. But like the whole Apple thing is it's more streamlined, I suppose.
It's just more of a closed system.
Yeah.
But it's like on the Mac, of course you can set a default browser. Like it's a computer.
Yes.
You can install whatever software you want and, choose which one gets to be the default.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah.
Ooh, how will I segue into this one? You mentioned browsers and I
of course your favorite browser is Chrome, and Chrome is made by Google, and you know what else Google has been making?
They bought YouTube in 2000. Yeah. So yes, my YouTube channel that I've had for 6 years, and they decided to rebrand as Wabbles last year.
I thought you were trying to transition into something else. Sorry, we'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, right, yeah.
It is funny that they also own YouTube, though, and that you were still able to transition.
So I can, but that does leave me with another thing. But yes, I think I might do something with the Wabbles channel. Well, I've been saying that for ever, but
you talk a lot of talk, but I'll believe it when I see
I haven't
upload.
done the walk. Yeah. So yeah, I guess
your walk is
it's more of a
wobble,
staggered limp. Oh yeah, a wob.
You're wobbling.
Yes, it won't be. I think I probably won't be able to do video stuff for a while because PC bad. And it's just it would be a pain to render video.
Mm-hmm.
And so on and so forth, and like it's easier to do like would be wanting to do gameplay type things like recording my desktop, which my PC can barely do without. So that wouldn't be. My PC can only run certain games and stuff, which I don't
But
know.
you're getting a new one, right?
Yes, I've been scraping up funds, and I thought, oh, this year I'd be able to get a job, but I don't think so. So, I definitely
that was in
think,
our
yeah.
New
'Cause
Year's resolutions, but
the beginning of the year, I was like, oh, probably would have had a summer job, so I'd definitely have enough money by this point. So I was like, oh, September, I'd have a computer. That still hasn't happened, and this computer actually is just barely getting by, with crashes getting fairly frequent. It doesn't blue screen anymore. It just kind of shuts down, and takes me to the boot menu where it tells you
it's just got to take a nap
stuff.
sometimes.
Yeah, it's just and I think my CPU fan might have stopped working, which is
That's
slight problem.
That's not good. That's probably why it shuts down sometimes.
Yes, I think it overheats. The other day I had a dream about building a new computer. That was quite interesting.
Last night I had a dream that we recorded this episode and that it was already edited and done. And so that's why I woke up this morning and I was like, you know what? I guess we should probably do that if we're gonna.
Yeah, like I got off the train and I was just kind of waiting to be picked up, and you sent a text that seemed quite panicked. I was like, oh yeah. It's October in like a day, so yes, but yeah, hopefully I should be able to use the Wabble channel for something now. I think it'll probably be a video that it'll probably be fairly low effort because my mind is occupied, but just also low, not resource heavy.
Sure.
But yeah, that's just a small update on my channel.
I look forward to it.
So yeah, speaking of things owned by Google, I have been, just before recording, I have found out that I have a Google Stadia now. We mentioned it a while back.
Yeah.
I think my parents mainly got it for Chromecast stuff. But it'd be cool to try it out.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you get the first month free, so I guess I'll go see what it's like, and
yeah, let me
hopefully
know.
it won't be as buffery like that advert. Yeah, I'll let you know. I don't think there's much else to say about that. I really like the controller. I was just kind of feeling it a bit, and it feels it's a good controller. It's quite weighty too.
You're just like petting it. You're like, good controller.
Good controller, yeah. The Premier Edition, so it's the white controller, but I did like the very sleek black and blue look of you can either get black and blue or black or orange of the collector's edition. Of course, I would have gone for black and orange. But it's fine. Beggars can't be choosers.
Well, maybe you need a second controller.
Yeah, you can buy them. But yeah, I thought that was just a small interesting thing that I thought literally just before recording. So yes, I think that's everything we have here then.
Yeah.
So yes, this is we've been doing a lot in this section lately, but some meta talk.
Sorry, the rain just got really loud and I can't hear myself think.
I don't know how I'm gonna
Okay.
So yeah, we were coming to the end of season 2, and we were thinking about obviously
what to do for season 3 and
season 3.
Yeah.
And it's not like either of us necessarily I've really enjoyed doing this for the past 2 years, and it's not like we're planning this is we do plan on continuing it at some point, but for now, we think it's probably best that we put the podcast on hold for. Well, we're not too. I guess we're not entirely sure until when, but I don't think it will be awfully long. But still, we don't have any definite dates yet, I guess. All right, I can actually hear it coming on your end of Discord now. I suppose maybe a bit of rain might be fitting. But
yeah, I think it'll be okay. I just could hear on top of the rain. I could also.
I suppose this might be.
I could hear someone just like right on the other side of the wall, and got self-conscious. I
guess this may also apply to one of the reasons we're taking a small pause.
Right, this is kind of the perfect embodiment of like me dreading doing the recording.
And yeah, I also think maybe. So speaking me personally, I think maybe at some point I think I said we had the joke like last episode. We're definitely not gonna. It's not like we're gonna be doing this forever. But I do wonder if one day it'll get boring. But I do think taking a small break might help me, or might just like stop it from getting boring too quickly. Because I've really loved doing this. And I've just thought my personal experience of small pause might just be helpful to help me.
You have a lot to talk about whenever we start it up again,
Yes.
There will be more content.
Yes, definitely. And I also think at this point in time, there have been other things that are I would rather be focusing on at the moment.
Yeah, I have that as well.
But yeah, this isn't indefinite. I think.
Yeah, I've actually really enjoyed this conversation, and I feel like it's kind of made me wonder, like, oh, maybe we could just keep doing it. But I think probably putting this project on pause is a good idea.
Yeah.
For right now.
I mean, if we do suddenly decide we have a random spurt of stuff, I think we talked about last time that just the way it works, we can pick this up when we want to.
Yeah. I think.
So if we feel like we need to talk about something, we can either or we have been throwing ideas around of what if we could do just like maybe sometimes.
I wouldn't be opposed to a random episode at some point in the future, and like maybe even like a shorter. Just like if we just do a quiz or something,
Yeah, like
we just feel inspired, but
yeah. And I think that's also why I've had the inspiration. I want to talk about this. I was gonna try. Not mention this earlier, but I was wondering if I could mention my channel now, but I feel like it would be a bit disjointed. So, but that is also why I've been wanting to do more stuff on my channel, because I have enjoyed like making stuff for just being like making things. This is quite enjoyable, and I thought, well, I would normally be, well, not like I haven't taken out much time, but I feel like I could also use this time to refine my media creation skills. So by the time we come back to this, I could probably help out a bit more with the post-production side of things and stuff like that. So yeah, those are my thoughts of just wanting it. Like it's probably for the more so like us wanting to do this more in the future. A small break now, break now would probably be just useful to help us get, I guess, would it help it stop getting old too quickly, but also help us come up with.
You're just humming.
Yeah. Um, right. My last thought.
Um,
Oh wow, that's weird. Um. So yeah, I didn't exactly want this to go stale too quickly. So I thought maybe like obviously a break I think would be I guess healthy for the project, I suppose. Um. So we don't run out, like get too bogged down by it.
yeah.
Because I don't want to get to a point where I feel like where I don't like doing it. But yeah.
I mean, it's nice of you to take some of the the reason for this pause, but I feel like a lot of it is just I'm kind of dreading the process of trying to record in the environment I'm in currently, and yeah,
Right.
I don't know. Also, I was thinking about this the other day of how in the New Year's episode, one of the resolutions was, for me at least, was that I was gonna try and start another podcast. And I had a specific thing in mind, but I've put like no work into that project.
Right.
And just I don't know that I've put no work into it because I've been too busy with Minty Boys, or that I've put no work into it because I feel like I have some of the same problems that I'm having with trying to just record and function where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are loud and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, I don't know. I've got a lot to figure out.
Yeah.
This doesn't really qualify as a job unless we get more of an audience, and
Yeah.
looking into like moving again, which I've already moved once since this podcast started, but we will see. I definitely don't think this is the end.
Yeah. It's definitely not the end. But I feel like I'm probably gonna miss this. But I mean, and obviously miss the minters. It's been really nice having just a sense of community around a thing I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just been I don't know, it's been really nice. And having people who appreciate your work and stuff. It's just been quite nice.
Yeah.
And feeling like stuff you say kind of matters in a sense. But yeah, it's been an honor, Scar. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to play us out, Wobbles?
Yeah, sure.